Hi, this is Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. With the union budget due in next 2 weeks, we will discuss economy on this episode. I have with me investment banker Subhendu Moitra. Subhendu is a founder director of Coeus Advisors. Subhendu, budget has less to do with policy making. Yet, some signals might be required this time as the economy has slowed down unexpectedly. One good development is fiscal deficit for 2024-25 is expected to be lower than projected levels. However, on the flip side, it might come on less expenditure. I was just looking at the list. Many of the PLI expenditures which are projected were not affected, which may not be. It can happen, but in the end, it is impacting growth. In our last discussion, that was on December 23, we discussed why RBI should separate inflation and interest. Do you think we should also give a similar advice to the Narendra Modi government? Their fiscal prudence has come at the cost of growth momentum. Over to you.
Yeah, Pratim, you're absolutely on the dot. I think whether we see this, yesterday's that particular news item, that whether within the limit of our fiscal deficit, but it came with a very, very worrisome kind of points. Why it is not because of the better income or better GDP, it's because of the less expenditure. Instead of 11 lakh crore, I think we'll be making something around 9.5 to 10 lakh crore, which is about 10% less than our target. So, which is not a good indication. Maybe last year it was election year, so there was a sluggish. I think we discussed last podcast also that that particular government expenditure has been very sluggish, which has affected the growth. And so, when we say the interest rate issue, which is with the Reserve Bank of India, we should also look into this particular thing, that whenever international market was always in doldrum, India survived because of our domestic expenditure and domestic demand. And somehow this time we have not been able to create that. So we are in a very worrisome situation. If you look at that, I think you see the share market has come down, FPI investment has gone up, dollar has gone almost to 86.50. We have growth coming down. So I think all that has one of the reasons which I think is that if expenditure in the government is not there, so indication to the investors are not positive as such for putting money in India. And look, because the dollar is going this way, and because investment has not happened and growth has not happened, RBI has a very lower room for interest rate cut. You have to look into that angle also, because the dollar goes to 86.50 and it cut interest rate, then there may be a problem there. So I think we have to, government has to act right now more than the RBI, and start giving at least indication that they are going to go for a whole hog on the expenditure and on the growth. That's a very important part of it. And I at the same time, I also believe, like last time, because our share market was doing so well, so they have gone for such changes of the capital interest, capital gains tax. I think they should relook into that. They need some boost. The boost is very, very essential at this moment for this country, and the government needs to do fast. I think that's what I believe.
I do agree. Though I have a slightly different take on the market. The market has been highly overvalued, so some correction has actually helped it. It is still very overvalued. And Indian investors have not seen any bear run for pretty long. So they are a little nervous, but obviously we should promote. I mean, at this moment, the sentiments are to be improved, and
Yes.
you are
Yeah,
right.
on the overvalued, I have a point as such. Yes, it was overvalued. There's a lot of discussions on that, but it has also affected that lack of the government expenditure, and interest rate at the higher side, that gave a wrong impression. And also the sudden change in the capital gains tax, that did not serve a purpose as such on that overvalued market. This is what I would say. And so much money has gone out of the country, FPI's money, which was very crucial. I mean, I think last month itself 42,000 crore, which is quite a large amount of money which has gone out. It is going out for last couple of months, and other countries are other economies, especially US, is expected to do well. So we need to also take care of our own this thing interest as such, I believe.
Right. There is one problem. I mean, do you think that the government has become extremely status quoist, and particularly the finance ministry? I mean, pardon, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, but you are looking pretty bureaucratic. I mean, I can't get rid of that explanation or lack of explanation on putting different GST rates for different popcorns, different types of popcorns. And the finance minister has been doing it in a kind of very matter-of-factly manner, which was unacceptable. She must know that she is saying something which is unacceptable to us. So I mean, the way it is happening is that the government it was a pro-reforms, very forward-looking government, very positive, robust. Somewhere, do you believe those sentiments are lacking?
You were very right, Pratim. Actually, see, especially market or economy, the sentiment is a very important part of it. So those changes are very minor. That has no financial effect. But I mean, it looks like the government is more focused on those kind of complications. In fact, we always thought these are the things we're going to simplify our structure, whether it's a interest, whether it's a capital gain structure or a GST or everything. But unfortunately, it looks like we're make it very, very cumbersome. I think we are moving more into the calculation part of be given by the bureaucrats. We are not looking into the larger picture. I think bureaucrats also need to understand that the larger picture needs to be seen. They should not look into this mathematical thing. Then how do I increase 5% to 10% and how much money I get and don't get? The question is not how much money you get from these income, whether it's income tax or something. The growth will actually give a huge amount of income to the government and the economy. This is what they should look into. This they are looking into absolutely as if the whole market will be like this, income will be like this, and how much I can get, and if I don't take a tax like that, how much I lose, how much I gain. This is absolute mathematical. So there's a lack of, I would say, that vision which was there in last several years, which was missing, at least. I don't know it is because of the election or whatever, but it's missing in last couple of months. At least it's very obvious, and that has affected the market. We need to appreciate that part.
It's a very accountant-like. There is a difference between
Yeah.
an accountant and a finance executive or a managing director. One has to have a very long-term vision, I mean, termed visions. The other one only looks at numbers from here to from there and very day-to-day exercises. So one is a very narrow vision, the other one is a wide vision. So I think somewhere the wide vision somewhere is going a little compromised, and it is happening.
I can give you a small example. They wanted to make this new tax regime very, very, attractive. But look at what they are doing. They're giving something, taking something. It's absolutely not much different, especially at particular level. Of course, beyond the level, it's coming. But I'm saying that you should, if you have to make something attractive, you need to act in that way. Maybe you have to lose something in an interim term, but on a larger term, a longer term, you're going to gain out of it. So I think this focus, I mean, whatever is the vision is there, some of the nitty gritties are going against that, and that's also giving a very wrong impression to the investor community and the market, which is very, very worrisome, I must tell you. And we need to have a maybe they need to tighten their belt. All this especially finance ministry, especially this is a budget time. They need to appreciate that part. There's no room for complacence, which is maybe have come to some extent in the system, looks like.
Yeah, you're very right. There has been a sense of complacence from political to economic perspectives. Politically, they paid a price in 2024 Lok Sabha, but on the economic side, also, it is now getting a little evident that they were not ready for adjustments. And I'm just giving one example here. I mean, if you may remember when Varun Jetli was there. So in the first speech, probably, first budget speech or second budget speech, I don't remember. He struck a chord. He said about that these direct taxes the income tax, particularly personal income tax. He said that only, I mean, a very minuscule percentage section of the society is bearing the burden, and it is very mandatory to relieve them from this burden. Now, point is that we all know that the income tax barely counts in the total tax collection.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
whether you leave something there or not is merely a very token thing. It is not going to impact your expenditure in a big way. It is basically the salaried class. And you don't know whether they will take the money and invest instead of spending it somewhere. But point is that from those remarks of Jaitley, so there should be a continuation in the government's actions because it has been 10 years. But somewhere we saw that is missing. Second point, what I would like to make, and that is a question. We saw that, yes, due to political competition or competitive politics, whichever way you put it, is that whether this so-called social expenditures, which are a good part of it is nothing but doles, whether that is finally impacting the government's ability to loosen the belt and just go whole hog for things. Over to you.
No, I just don't totally agree. See, this social expenditure, whatever has been there, that was let's take it to the last budget. Okay, the social expenditure was estimated. Also, the capital expenditure was estimated. Now, why didn't we achieve the capital expenditure? I mean, so because I understand your point. A social expenditure may not give a real, growth impetus immediately, but it may have a long term growth. For example, if you invest in education on a long term basis, it may give some return. But at the same time, certain infrastructure funding will give a social benefit. For example, this Jal Jeevan Mission, where there's a sluggishness. Okay, it's the infrastructure investment. It doesn't come in a social maybe, but the as you give a fresh water to the poorer people, ultimately it reduces the health
Expenditure on
expenditure.
health.
Expenditure, well, their lifestyle changes. I have seen analysis there in certain areas that somebody did it, that when a lady goes long way to bring water, and if you can reduce the time, you can give them fresh water nearby. Ultimately, what will happen? It will help their health. It will help their children's health, their children education, everything. And the overall expenditure of the government will come down. So I'm saying that social expenditures is required, not required, because as you grow in a
No, I'm
developing
not. I'm not referring these as social expenditures. These are capital expenditures, actually. I mean,
yes,
whether
no,
in
I'm
looking
saying
at.
no, I'm saying that social expenditure one, but why do I missing capital expenditure? My point is that, see, okay, we can blame social expenditure that why did you do that, but why didn't you do this? Because you had money also now, because our fiscal deficit is in control. I could have spent that money. I'm not done it for whatever reason, maybe election year. So I give a benefit of doubt to this government, because this year they may not have the full hog, they could not go, but I'm sure next year they will try
I
to
think
do fully.
inflation also had been on their mind.
Yes,
Inflation is a
it was on
factor.
their mind.
They
Inflation
wanted
on the
to.
mind, but
Let's
yeah,
assume that
right.
they wanted to control inflation because it is very closely linked to the fiscal part.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time that if you don't make an expenditure and the growth will not happen, so ultimately other places we will have a problem of interest rates and
Yeah.
other things, because right now, because growth is not there and a dollar has gone there, so how do we cut interest rate? But look for RBI. It's a very, there's a very difficult situation at this moment. Earlier it was not so. When there was dollar was something like 83, it was fine, but today the dollar has gone almost to 86 and half. And if I cut interest rate, what will happen? Where it will go?
So
Whether
what
I can.
essentially we are saying is that there has to be a very serious thought between including RBI, including the RBI and everyone. I mean, they must get into some serious brainstorm and do something out of the box to lift the
Yes,
sentiments. Uh,
or within the box itself, increase the expenditure in infrastructure, or do
why
proper
do you think?
expenditure.
Why do you think that the capital expenditure has gone down? What could be the
I
reason?
think I think what I am told in the system, that maybe because of the elections, a lot of orders had not come, which was supposed to be allotted, has not happened. Jal Jeevan and other, they're waiting for the
This
orders.
is this is a fact
Last couple of
because
months,
you
I think,
are
I don't know
missing on
about,
that April June
yes,
quarter. So then you
yes,
have the monsoon.
yes, absolutely. I don't know about the roads, but at least in water, there's been huge. People are all waiting for such a long time for the, and they thought after election will happen. It's not happened. So one of the reasons may be that, maybe the delay or new changes, a new government, and again the new structures.
Fair
But
enough.
at the
Now,
same time,
what could be the first of all, let's be fair to the government. There are many positive indicators. You spoke about Jal Jeevan. Now, Jal Jeevan has already, I don't know the latest figure, it had crossed 75% coverage.
absolutely,
All right.
yes,
Secondly,
absolutely, they've done a great job, great job.
there has been
All
some
these
very
are great.
great news about reduction of poverty. There has been a great news about reduction in migration, in-country
Yes,
migration. Now, all these are linked to various social indicators because when you migrate, so the education of the children suffer.
everything. Yes,
So there are a lot of issues involved in that. So there are many good indicators, only it is not reflecting into the immediate growth momentum.
economic indicators, yes, growth
Right.
indicators, or
Now see, PLI, production linked incentive, right? It was launched in 2020, probably. Now,
yes,
it succeeded in certain segments very well. For example, in telecom. So we are
right.
seeing suddenly out of nowhere, the mobile phone exports have become a buzz. It has been working in semiconductors. It has been working in defense. So this is fine. But we also know that in lot many areas it is not working. And say, for example, in steel, they are merely, it has this whole the idea was to create critical capacities so that they become cost effective and they finally compete in the global market, and the incentive was for a limited period, right? But the trend we saw because of these tariff wars and all these things, if we look at steel and etc., they are into those regular demands of increase the import tariff, increase the that tariff. I mean, this is nonsense. You just increase the import tariff and then you are operating. In many cases, there has been flood of imports even after increasing the import tariffs, which only means that you are less efficient, right? And you are forcing the domestic buyer to buy steel or whatever it is at a higher cost and ending up. So overall, that is affecting the consumption, right? Affecting the growth. So
So
like,
I would have. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. Exactly. I think there's a lot of global, especially in steel. I can tell you global, games which is happening, in the sense that because of the China slowdown, there's a huge capacity, overcapacity there. So they were dumping, which is also fact. They were, dumping their stock everywhere. So maybe that is one of the reasons they have said. But having said that, you are right that PLI has not worked everywhere, and we have to analyze that, but that has a lot of geopolitical situations also. The whole supply chain of the international community, because of the war and other things, has a disturb, it has got disturbed. So I think there's a lot of demand has also come down in certain areas. So we have to look into that, whether it's actually because of our inefficiencies has not worked, or it's the overall external factors not worked in particular sector, or which are the sectors, like as you say, mobile phones or somewhere where it can work in future, semiconductor, mobile phone, and target those sectors also. I mean, I believe that should be the right way, and we need to analyze each and every sector and see exactly why it does not work, whether it's internal or external. If it's internal, we have to correct it. Whether it's in our inefficiency, our lack of technology or entrepreneurship, we have to take care of it. Whether it's external issues, like the
my
war.
question, Shuvendu, is what is taking the government so long to respond? Why, it is not only we. The Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal recently spoke against PLI in green energy.
Yes.
Okay, so
Hmm.
the point is that this has been 4 years, at least 3 years have gone by since PLI has been introduced. So why the government has not made enough move? And the election was over in June. Why it is, I mean, is it looking a little slow? Has it become a little old, archaic kind of stuff? I mean, has it become a prisoner of its own thoughts? Is it suffering from crisis of resources in terms of policy makers? I mean, there were very bright people, personalities like Sri Arun Jetli, like Manohar Parrikar, and many others. Somehow, I mean, what is affecting? Is it a little lack of blood?
No, I think I appreciate it's a little slow, but I only believe that current year has been that election year. So there are several times there's a laxity. I think this is looks to me very clearly, and I am very confident that government in the budget time now they are more or less settled. They will take some very corrective actions and do something very interesting, which will or out of box as you say, which may actually help us in future. But see, these also takes time, I agree, but yes, should always cut the time, whatever red tapes or something, this analysis that which sector where you should do, where you should not do, and need to take decision faster. I appreciate that point, but it's very difficult to say whether it's a sluggishness of the current people or they're inefficient. I will not say that. Maybe they're busy in the other part of their activities of the politics and other things, which they've just come out of it. So maybe this budget we should see something very positive. That's what I always optimistically believe. Because this government otherwise has done very, as we very said, I mean, we say so many negative,
Obviously,
because we
obviously.
always say positive. Why you are today saying negative? Because we always say positive. That's very right thing, but we should also identify where the false. Otherwise, how do we move ahead? That is
No,
what is
we,
our
we
point.
are criticizing the government because we have great expectations from it.
We have great expectation, and they can do it, and they have done it actually. So that's what we our expectation has gone further, and we believe they should do more for us. And our economy actually should do far better than what is it doing right now.
My only problem is that I'm finding it a little bureaucratic. I mean, it was not so bureaucratic. It was,
Yes,
I mean, the moment bureaucracy takes over a government.
I think that also happens maybe during last election period. The visionaries or the politicians are supposed to be visionaries. They are more busy in something else. So it's a bureaucrat who has run it normal way or the routine way. So now they have to put their brain together, the visionaries,
And in the
and
end,
they should.
bureaucrats get away. In the end, bureaucrats get away. The blame goes to politics.
Ultimately anything out of box, the visionaries have to tell. Bureaucrats may give idea, but ultimately they will implement, but you have to give them a right direction, which they should go. So I believe that I'm sure they'll be given in this particular next couple of months budget and other things and all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you, pleasure. Namaskar.